What's going on, guys? Briar Rabbit here. Today we've got a few products that I've been testing out for the Steam Deck, and I figured I'd give you a quick review on. So first of all, we've got something that is pretty standard. This is going to be familiar to anybody who's got a mobile phone or a Switch. It's one of these tempered glass screen protectors. This is from a company named JSAUX. In fact, two of our products are from JSAUX today. This is specifically made for the Steam Deck, and one of the nice features about it is it has one of these kind of applicator frames, so it's very easy to put this thing on very straight, which can be a problem with this type of product. This one is made out of tempered glass, so it should be fairly tough and keep your screen from getting scratched. Next, we've got this guy. This is a transparent back cover for the Steam Deck. In fact, I have it installed now, and you can see that you can in fact see through this. It's kind of a smoke color. A couple of other cool features about this is that while it is transparent, it fits basically like the stock Steam Deck back cover. It also has new buttons, so you can select what kind of buttons you want on the back of your Steam Deck. It has 4 buttons that are exactly like the standard Steam Deck rear buttons, and then it has 2 other options that make it a little bigger and easier to press in 2 different ways, and I'll show you that in a bit. The other thing about this is it has this kind of metal thermal plate here, which is theoretically supposed to keep your Steam Deck a little cooler, so we'll take a look at that as well. And then finally, this one's a little bit random, but I've been testing it out quite a bit. This is a Google Stadia controller. You may not know this about the Google Stadia controller, is that since they shut down the Stadia service, Google actually offered an update for this controller to make it a standard Bluetooth or wired controller. So I've been using this on the Steam Deck a little bit, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. So why don't we just start off with the tempered glass screen protector. Right off the bat, you can see that is right now installed on the Steam Deck, and I'm gonna kind of rotate it in. I'm gonna show you my biggest complaint about this product. Now, without it installed, I do have the kind of higher end Steam Deck that has the glass screen with the anti-reflective coating, and this tempered glass cover does not seem to have any kind of anti-reflective properties to it. So it really increases the amount of glare and the amount of reflections that you see on the screen itself. That's my biggest complaint about this. In every other aspect, I like it quite a bit. It fits very well. It was very easy to apply. There were no bubbles. There were no significant bubbles when I put it on. I did get a little bit of dust underneath, which is, if you've ever installed one of these, it can be very hard to install these and not get like any dust on it. When I was installing it, I actually had to peel it back up. It comes with kind of a kit here that includes like a wet wipe kind of thing, like an alcohol wipe, as well as a soft microfiber cloth to try and get all that dust off with. But it just can be very hard to get it exactly clean. However, I think that with the inclusion of this bracket, which just kind of sits on here like this, and then you just drop the glass right on here, and it automatically centers it perfectly for you. If you're looking for something like this, I think it's a good option. I would like to see in the future that this company just offer an option that has a reflective, like kind of glare reduction kind of thing. Totally gives you like when the screen goes black and you're like staring at it, you could totally just like see yourself in the reflection. And it's a little bit weird. Without that, with the standard screen on the Steam Deck, this is like the glass anti-glare one. It really is a much better screen. So I'm not positive if I'm going to keep this on or not. I would like to protect this screen, but at the cost of having a bunch of extra glare, maybe not. If you have one of the plastic screens, one of the less expensive Steam Decks, this actually might be a great option for you. So I'm not going to recommend this for anybody who has the anti-glare screen, but if you don't have the anti-glare screen, this might be a great option for you. It's very easy to apply. Tempered glass is pretty tough, and this is well manufactured. It has kind of beveled edges, so it's not sharp in any way. It's very easy to center because of that bracket. So yeah, I'd recommend it to anybody who doesn't have the anti-glare screen, but if you have the anti-glare screen, I'd probably skip this one and just try and be careful with the screen that you already have. All right, so next we have the new back cover for the Steam Deck. This thing is pretty cool. I really like this look of having the clear, well, it's more of like a smoke color, right? It's not exactly clear. It's kind of a grayish color. But I really do like being able to see the innards of the Steam Deck. I think it just adds like kind of a cool touch to it. And I wouldn't mind if somebody would make one for the front. I think it'd be a lot harder to install because, honestly, taking the back off of this thing there's 8 screws back here, and then you can just pop it right off. In fact, they include the screwdriver you need for these 8 screws, as well as kind of a blue plastic spudger tool that you can just kind of pry the clips apart. It might be a little intimidating to some people to take their Steam Deck apart, but I found it to be a very easy process. And then included in the box, I'll get these out for you. You actually get a bunch of extra rear buttons. And the rear buttons are cool. It's got these ones that are basically exactly like the standard Steam Deck rear buttons, which, to be honest, I've never loved that much. I find it to be, they're just so low profile that they can be a little bit hard to hit. Now, again, I have large fingers, so that may be my problem. I feel like I should be able to kind of squeeze them, though, inward toward the grip, where really you got to push them in toward the screen. And they're just a little awkward. I've never loved those rear buttons. And with the clear cover, they have the standard buttons that go with the clear cover, but they also have a couple of options for kind of bigger buttons. And you can see these are kind of like levers. They don't look like a button, they look more like a lever. And they do flex a little bit when you press them. And initially I was kind of scared. Is that going to feel mushy and weird? But in practice, with them installed, they just feel good. When I'm actually playing with them, they just feel right. Now, it was easy to install this clear cover, but I did run into a problem when I actually got it installed, in that one of the rear buttons was not activating. And after I took it apart and put it back together, and I took it apart and kind of diagnosed the issue, it turned out that the manufacturing process had created an issue where if you screwed this screw all the way in, this button would just be depressed all the time. Like it was too tight. The tolerance wasn't quite right when this thing got manufactured. I don't know if that's a one-off for just this single unit, or if that's common to this back cover. Luckily, it was not hard to fix. I took a couple of stickers that were already kind of installed on these buttons. I just kind of peeled about 3 of these off, stuck it between the screw, where the screw hole and the kind of plastic cover is, and then put it all back together, and that solved the issue. So basically, just 3 stickers was just enough to kind of open that gap up enough so the button operated normally. A little bit annoying, then I had to do that. It makes me question the quality of the whole thing. But other than that, I've had no issues with it. And I've been playing with it for a while now, and that fix seemed to do it. Other kind of strange feature, honestly, is that it's got this thermal plate here. Under this thermal plate, there is a thermal pad that then touches this kind of casing that goes around the heat sink on the back of the Steam Deck. So I'm actually not positive. It may be, I believe it's an APU, so it'd be the graphics card and the processor in kind of like one single chip. I think that's how the Steam Deck works. I'm not actually sure. But there's a heat sink back there, and there's a fan here that blows air, you know, through there. And this is touching the kind of protector around that heat sink. Now, on the regular Steam Deck back, there's just this kind of metal feeling sticker that I believe is just there to reflect the heat back toward the processor, so you're not feeling it through the plastic here on your hands. With this metal plate, that heat is coming straight through. So when you're playing a game that is really pushing the Steam Deck hardware, you can definitely feel this get hot, very hot, in fact. Uncomfortably hot if you were to like put your hands on it while, like if you were playing like I was playing Cyberpunk or I was playing Doom 2016, it would get hot enough that it'd be uncomfortable to put your fingers there for more than, 5, 6, 7 seconds. In the wintertime, not too bad, it's nice to have something warm in your hands during the wintertime, but in the summertime, I could definitely see this causing an issue usability-wise. And hey guys, I wanted to interject because as I was editing this video, I decided to do a little more testing on whether that thermal pad on the back of the clear cover for the Steam Deck actually contributes to any cooling. After a little bit more testing and reviewing some footage, it does appear that it may do more than I initially thought. While I was running Cyberpunk kind of like on this endless loop, I was just kind of like driving around in circles, essentially. I saw that with the thermal pad, it did seem to hover around 77 to 80 degrees Celsius as measured by the Steam Deck itself. Without the pad, or with the original cover installed, it seemed to hover between 80 and 83 degrees Celsius. So there does seem to be a small difference. And actually, with the clear cover installed, it was actually a higher ambient temperature in my office while I was testing than when it wasn't installed. So it actually had a higher hill to climb. So there may be a small difference in cooling potential with that, kind of thermal pad on the back of the Steam Deck installed. You're going to hear me later in the video refer to there not being a difference, but in fact, after doing some more testing, there was a small difference in cooling. As far as the buttons go, I really like these buttons. Not a fan of the standard Steam Deck rear buttons. Like I said before, I just find them kind of hard to hit. I feel like I want to squeeze them in toward my hand, where the Steam Deck really wants you to squeeze it in toward the screen, in toward the device. With these, you have two different options. You have these ones that kind of let you push the buttons in toward the device, but they're just bigger and kind of easier to press. Or these other ones that look kind of similar, but they're kind of like the reverse design, so you kind of see what it would look like, where it's hollow on the inside, but the bend in it is on the other side. And this one in my hand really lets you press it by pushing this way as opposed to this way. And to be honest with you, I like both of these better than the kind of stock Steam Deck back buttons. If you don't have a problem with the back Steam Deck buttons, then this probably isn't going to be a concern to you. Now, obviously, you can see that these are kind of these curved pieces of plastic. They don't look like buttons, right? I'm going to zoom in here just so you get a better view of this. So yeah, this is like a curved piece of plastic as opposed to being just a standard looking button. I don't know why they did this, and when I first opened up the package, I was like, well, you can see this flex quite a bit when you push it. I wonder, how is this going to feel? Is it going to feel spongy? Is it going to feel bad? And also, how durable is this going to be? How good is this plastic? Is this going to last? Well, I can't answer how durable it's going to be. If they end up breaking, I'll put notes in the description of this video that they did in fact end up breaking. But so far, they have held up well, and they do feel actually pretty good. You don't really feel them flexing when you're hitting the button, even though they clearly are. But they feel quite nice, and they make kind of a satisfying sound, and they have a positive feel to them. So while I kind of bought this rear cover just for the aesthetics of being able to see through it, what I really found I like about it is these buttons. They've really kind of increased the amount of use that I give these rear buttons quite a bit, because I just didn't like the standard stock ones. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about in this video is the Google Stadia controller. So once Google closed down Stadia, they offered a web-based update so that you could turn this into a standard Bluetooth controller, which is awesome because otherwise this thing would be completely useless and end up in a landfill. It's a pretty easy process. You can just Google Bluetooth Google Stadia, and you'll go to the web page. It took about 5 minutes to do it, and it works with the Steam Deck. It works with most Bluetooth kind of ready game systems. One thing I will note about this, though, is that if you want to use kind of like the 4 buttons kind of around the Steam Deck, like the Steam button or the options button or any of these guys, this doesn't really do this. It will do the start menu with either of these 2 buttons up here, but it will not activate the Steam or the options, unfortunately. So that can be a little bit annoying. So it doesn't have full functionality as a Steam Deck controller. However, the D-pad works fine. All the rest of the buttons work fine. If you have one of these around, it's worth hooking it up to your Steam Deck, using it as a second controller. Or even if you're playing a 2-player game, who knows what you're doing. I'm not here judging what you're doing with your Steam Deck. You do what you want to do. I'm just saying, if you got a Stadia controller around, instead of throwing it out, you can hook it up to your Steam Deck and use it as a controller there. And it works pretty well there. So that's it, guys. That's going to wrap up this video. I'll put a link in the description to these 2 guys. I believe I got Amazon affiliate links for that. If you already have a Stadia controller, hey, hook it up. If you don't, I certainly wouldn't buy one just for this purpose. Definitely getting like an Xbox controller or something like that is going to be better suited, or something like by 8-Bit Do. But, hey, at least this thing doesn't end up in a landfill. If you do have a plastic screen on your Steam Deck, I definitely recommend the tempered glass screen protector. If you have the reflective coating on your Steam Deck, I wouldn't recommend it. As far as the transparent back cover, I definitely like that it's clear. I definitely like the addition of cooler back buttons, but I don't really understand the extra kind of cooling block on the back of it. And if they made one that didn't have that, I'd probably prefer that one, because I don't really like having this like wickedly hot piece of metal right near my fingers. That's going to do it. Thank you very much for watching. Hit that like button if you liked the video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.